Good morning to everyone. It appears to be obvious at this point that the mainstream media has no interest in the latest French rebellion, the Yellow Vest Rebellion, and they have absolutely no interest in the reason why it's happening. It is amazing to me. It has come to this point where I will have to report from InfoWars, of all places, in order to get you some news. Now, I will go ahead and get started and get my screen share up here. All right. So, the police arrest leader of Dutch Yellow Vest ahead of nationwide protests against political correctness. So, this is, as I mentioned just with it yesterday or day before yesterday, this was not about the gasoline tax per se. I mean, it was, but the gasoline tax, the carbon tax that Europeans, especially France, are trying to impose upon the middle class and the poor, uh, is a straw that broke the camel's back. And so, of course, according to this headline, it is against political correctness. It is against multiculturalism. It is against globalism. That's what it's against. Police in the Netherlands have arrested the leader of Dutch Yellow Vest movement ahead of a planned nationwide protest against political correctness and open borders policy this weekend. According to the Telegraph, at around 9:45 a.m. this morning, police arrested an activist of Yellow Vest in the Maastricht for incitement via social media. The same man was arrested during last weekend's Yellow Vest demonstration in Maastricht, according to another member of the group who argues that the arrested man has only ever been peaceful. The arrest is an effort to intimidate other protesters from joining the movement. The Yellow Vest movement is an organized uprising of working European citizens irate at their government's open border and high taxation policies. Dutch citizens will again take to the streets this weekend in Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Maastricht, Groningen, and The Hague to protest against political correctness, open border policies, and left liberal Prime Minister Mark Rutte. The group is calling for a lowering of the age at which pensions can be received, a reduction in excise duties, and according to one protester, the revolt is a statement against a hardening of society. Freedom of expression is under pressure, and we have to be politically correct. It is a struggle, says Ms., which is a politically correct suffix, which I detest anyway, Dierenberg. All right. So here you have right there in the Netherlands on Twitter for all to see. And this was going on December the 1st. And everybody thought that it was just in France. With the demonstration, I want to show that we want a voice, she remarked, adding the problem is that we are no longer being heard. A lot is being decided over our heads. Organizers have banned banners, flags, or face covering baklavas, perhaps in an effort to deter left-wing agitators. Following weeks of protests across France, some of which turned violent, the French government announced it would permanently cancel planned gas taxes. However, the demonstrations were not just about fuel tax, and protesters have vowed to hit the streets again this weekend, of course. Again, as I said a couple of days ago, the tax was just the straw that broke the camel's back. And it just reminds me of the situation. In fact, maybe I should go there in the scripture. I always try to use scripture concerning what is going on in current events. And just as Israel was divided uh, after Solomon turned away from Jehovah, so now is Europe divided after a long opportunity of salvation, essentially, folks. So I want to go to Bible Hub. And look, I guess Rehoboam would be the word. Oh, I guess I don't even know how to spell Rehoboam. All right, Jeroboam. Let's see. All right, I think I figured it out. There we go. All right. So Rehoboam was a classic example of a tone deaf leader. And it never works out for these tone deaf leaders. They don't get it. Verse 1, 1 Kings 12, verse 1. And Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel were come to Shechem to make him king. And it came to pass when Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who was yet in Egypt, heard of it, for he fled from the presence of King Solomon, and Jeroboam dwelt in Egypt. And they sent and called him. And Jeroboam and all the congregation of Israel came and spoke to Rehoboam, saying, Your father had made our yoke grievous. Now therefore, make you the grievous service of your father and his heavy yoke, which he put upon us, lighter, and we will serve you. Now, this actually happened with the beginning of these riots. And what happened was Macron of France said that he was not going to change this gas tax, but it were going to go higher and higher and higher. And this is what started, that's what caused this whole thing to boil over on December the 1st and December the 2nd. And it's also what caused the people, the yellow vests, to say that they're not going to accept Macron's temporary tax cut. And so Rehoboam said unto them, Depart yet for 3 days, and then come back to me. And the people departed. And King Rehoboam consulted with the old men that stood before Solomon his father while he yet lived, and said, How do you advise that I may answer this people? And they spoke unto him, saying, If you will be a servant unto the people today. Now, this is very, very important, because you see, today, the leaders of France are not supposed to be kings. They're not supposed to be dictators. They're not supposed to have rule by fiat. They're not supposed to rule over the people. They've, for the most part, the Europeans have rejected it, following the lead of the United States rejecting the King of England. And of course, the kings that are in Europe today, they only have that they're only a figurehead. So they spoke to him, saying, If you will be a servant, a real servant unto the people today, and you will serve them rather than the other way around, you see. Now, did Emmanuel Macron? Did he have anybody telling him this? If he did, he wasn't listening. And so his answer, the very answer that he sent back to the people, is what sealed the fate of his kingdom. And it could have been a whole lot worse for him. All right, if you will serve him, and we'll serve him and answer them and speak good words to them, and they will be your servants forever. But he forsook the counsel of the old men, which they had given him, and consulted with the young men that were grown up with him, and which stood before him. And he said unto them, What counsel do you have, that we may answer this people, who have spoken to me, saying, Make the yoke which your father did put upon us lighter? And the young men that were grown up with him spoke unto him, saying, Thus you shall speak unto this people that spoke unto you, saying, Your father has made our yoke heavy, but make you it lighter unto us. Thus shall you say to them, My little finger shall be thicker than my father's loins. And now, whereas my father did load you with a heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father has chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the third day, as the king had appointed, saying, Come to me again the third day. And the king answered the people roughly, and forsook the old man's counsel that he gave them. And he spoke to them after the counsel of the young man, saying, My father made your yoke heavy, and I will add to your yoke. My father also chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. Wherefore the king listened not to the people, for the cause was from Jehovah. Oh, Jehovah, our Father in heaven, was behind the whole thing, that he might perform his saying, which Jehovah spoke by Ahiah the Shilonite unto Jeroboam the son of Nebat. Why? Because Solomon was serving false gods. That's why. And just like Europe is serving a false god, Jesus or Cesus, they are now divided, and their leaders, just like Rehoboam, are tone deaf, are power hungry, are just drunk with power. Okay? Verse 16. So when all Israel saw that the king did not listen to them, and all it takes is once, folks, just once. I mean, he couldn't go back and say, Oh, I changed my mind. It's too late. It's too late. This is what happened to Emmanuel Macron. It's too late. The temporary tax cuts, too late. It's too late. So the people answered the king, saying, What portion have we with David? Neither have we inherited in the son of Jesse. To your sense, O Israel, now see to your own house, David. So Israel departed unto their tents. But as for the children of Israel, which dwelt in the cities of Judah, Rehoboam reigned over them. Then King Rehoboam sent Adoram, who was over the tribute, and all Israel stoned him with stones that he died, still arrogantly asserting his power. And so the tax collector was stoned to death. Therefore, King Rehoboam made speed to get him up his chariot to flee to Jerusalem. So Israel rebelled against the house of David unto this day. Now, folks, it is written that the cup which was given to the house of Israel shall be given to your enemy, to Israel's enemies. I hope I can find it. I thought I had gotten all the scriptures together. Okay. Let's see if I can find it. Probably not. But the scriptures show that uh, maybe I have to look it up on Google. Mm. Oh, I don't see it here. My head should have just gone and looked up the cup of trembling. Yes, there we go. Isaiah 51:22. It says, "Behold, Jehovah, Jehovah, and your Elohim, that judges the cause of his people." As I've said over and over again, where it talks about the Messiah on the white horse, about the cause. His name is the cause. Behold, I have taken out of your hand the cup of trembling, even the dregs of the cup of my fury. You shall no more drink of it again. So what? All the terrible things that happened to Israel is the cup of trembling that he's speaking about here. And it began, when it all began, was when Israel was divided. And it started with Rehoboam refusing to be the servant of the people. And you will no more drink of it again, but I will put it into the hand of them that afflict you, which have said to your soul, bow down, that we may walk all over it. And then you have laid your body to the ground, just like the street to them that went over. Well, that describes Europe perfectly. So now that we see the European, well, spring, no, I wouldn't call it that. More like the European fall. Um, the very division that happened to Israel in the days of Rehoboam after Solomon's death, this very division is now happening to Europe. Europe, the people who afflicted Israel, who said, "Get down and lay down so that we can walk on top of you, O Jew." Yes, now it is being handed to them. So, now that I have we looked at that. Now let's have a look at this one. Now this was posted on November the 25th, so this has been planned out well in advance of Hanukkah. However, the big gatherings were planned for during Hanukkah. Okay, so there are indications that the Yellow Vest movement demonstrations in France will move to Germany. So we have, was it France, the Netherlands? I heard of Belgium, and now Germany. Twitter and other social media types more typically associated with phones seem to be abuzz with instructions, locations, and organizers for massive Yellow Vest protests to hit every city and town in Germany soon. One wonders, or feel this as a planned tactic to bring down federal governments by long gamers who must have predicted the rise of a real resistance against the communist Islamic revolution. In any case, prepare your telescopes to look to the east of France. It could get interesting soon. This is on vladtepesblog.com, by the way. The video says December the 1st. Phase 1. Okay, so phase 1 began December the 1st. Okay? This is very important to understand. All right, so let's hopefully I got the sound cut out here because I don't want to hear a bunch of noise. But look at the top, you English speakers, you look at the top and you'll see on the top line what the plan is. I will try to large screen this as well. Let me start over. I will just go ahead and speak myself. Don't let them divide you. We stand together. We help each other, no matter what nationality, no matter what religion, no matter what sexuality, no matter what culture, no matter what skin color, no matter what status, no matter what gender, no matter what age. We are one. We are the storm. We wear warning vests. We're blocking the system. We enforce. Sheep no more. Stand up now. Widespread memes. Widespread warning vests. Wear warning vests. Boycott global corporations. Boycott the system. Bank run. Bank run. Don't work. Sick or vacation. We stand together. We go alone. We go all the way. Peaceful resistance now. In front of the Bundestag, Berlin. In front of the Bundestag, Berlin. From, what was that? Anyway, I think you get the picture, folks. I think you get the picture. This is a planned revolt against the government for being just like Rehoboam was in the days of Rehoboam and Jeroboam. And right here, you can see where I took this from. They have Merkel, and I suppose this guy is the president of Germany, and calling them hypocrites. You see. All right. So, with one final passage here, I want to show you something concerning the demons being cast into the pigs. And the swine are represented by the Gentiles. And they arrived in the country of Gadarenes, which is over against Galilee. And when he went forth to land, there met him out of the city a certain man which had devils for a long time and wore no clothes, neither abode in any house, but in tombs. And when he saw Yehoshua, he cried out and fell down before him. And with a loud voice, he said, "What have I to do with you, Yehoshua, you son of the Most High? I beseech you, torment me not." For he had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man. For oftentimes it had caught him, and he was kept bound with chains and fetters, and he broke the bands and was driven of the devil into the wilderness. And Yehoshua asked him, saying, "What is your name?" And he said, "Legion," because many devils were entered into him. And they besought him that he would not command them to go to the deep. To the deep? That would be the Mediterranean Sea, the abyss. Now, when you go to one of the other scriptures, is it Matthew? Something very interesting is said here. It says, "And behold, they cried out," in Matthew 8 and verse 29, "What have we to do with you, Yehoshua, you son of Elohim? Are you come here to torment us before the time? Before the time of the end?" Oh! And they were a good way off from them as a herd of many swine feeding. So the devils besought him, saying, "If you cast us out, let us go into the herd of swine." And he said unto them, "Go." And when they were come down, they went into the herd of swine, and behold, the whole herd of swine ran violently down a place into the sea, and another place says the lake, which makes one believe it was the Sea of Galilee, and perished in the waters. Now, I believe this is what is about to happen to Europe. Now, I know people may find this insulting, but after 2,000 years of persecution after persecution after persecution of the Jews and the followers of Yehoshua by the European swine, yes, I said it, the time of the end, these demons are going to be driven into the Mediterranean Sea to perish. I believe this is what's happening to Europe. It is that time that the demon spoke of, and it's time for Jerusalem to rise. So, um, take it for what you will, and please do not keep your head in the sand, have ostrich syndrome. Prepare yourselves. Things are not going to get better in Europe. And what affects Europe affects United States, folks. United States is not going to escape this.